Hello, and we are live. Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in, if you are tuning in. And if you are watching this on the replay, then thank you for watching this on the replay. You are very welcome. You are very much appreciated. It's great to see you. I thought I'd do a quick live today because I've been out and about this morning doing various bits and pieces. And so, although I've been doing these sort of to camera videos over the last little while, the last week or so, I thought I'd jump on and do a live because it's more direct and because there is a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. The first of which is fear. So we want to talk about fear and if fear is holding you back and all of that good stuff. And we also want to celebrate because today in the United Kingdom is the launch of Love Island, which if you are British, you will know is a very popular reality show in the United Kingdom where you get a bunch of people stuck together on an island. It's Mallorca, actually, one of the Balearic Islands off the coast of Spain. And you get a bunch of people on the island in a villa. They're already buff, they're already hot, whatever. And they all have to get together and couple up and all of this good stuff. So what should we talk about first? Should we talk about fear or should we talk about Love Island? Maybe we'll talk about fear first. But I will be doing some content about Love Island as we go into this new season. And the reason I'm going to be doing that is because, as my friend and colleague Dominic Sharp will attest, watching reality TV, yes, you might think, oh, it's low value, it's superficial, it's shallow, all of that stuff. And you might well be right about those things. But sure as hell, it gives you a great insight into the current sexual marketplace. Okay. We talk about all of this stuff, talk about the red pill and all of that stuff. And, it's great to talk about it in theory, but reality shows offer a really, really good way to see it actually played out in front of you on the screen. Okay. So for that reason, and because it's a lot of fun, we're going to be doing some shows, some little broadcasts and things about Love Island over the next week and coming into over the coming weeks, because there's always a lot to learn. So it's going to be fun. So look out for that. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about fear. But by the way, in the meantime, any thoughts, any questions, any points you'd like to make, please do stick them in the chat and we will get to them as we continue on with this wonderful show. So, okay, fear. So I want to talk about fear today because I've been reading a book by Mr. Ant Middleton, and this was recommended to me by none other than James Tusk. And this book is called The Fear Bubble. I think I'm right in saying that. The Fear Bubble by Ant Middleton. Okay. Now, Ant Middleton is a dude who was in the SAS, and he's very, very famous in the United Kingdom for being on another reality TV show, but this time one about the SAS. I think it's called Who Dares Wins or something like that. And basically they get a bunch of people to come in and to join the SAS essentially, and they have to work through all the challenges and the normal stuff that those guys would do. And obviously it's very, very challenging and taxing and all the rest of it. And yes, Ant Middleton was a former SAS guy, very, very checkered, colourful past, and he appears on that show. And he's written this book about his experiences. I think he's written a number of books. This is one of his books where he writes about his life, his experiences, and his philosophy. And the exciting thing about the fear bubble is that he really goes deep into his philosophy around fear. And what he says in the book is that it's not that he doesn't feel fear anymore. It's not that you can cancel out fear and not feel afraid, okay? And he says, in fact, he constantly feels fear. He constantly feels afraid. He doesn't get rid of that. But what he's learned to do is to use it as fuel. He's learned to use the fear as a way to propel him forward in his endeavors rather than holding him back. And as soon as I heard that, my ears pricked up because I thought this is relevant. This is good stuff. This is something that I need to learn, right? And we are, let's face it, on this channel and similar channels, we are not talking about being in the SAS. We're not talking about jumping out of planes. We're not talking about having to do 4,000 push-ups in 4 in the morning in the snow or whatever, right? We're not talking about climbing up mountains. All we're talking about is socializing, right? All we're talking about is going up to somebody that we find attractive, saying hello, starting a conversation, taking it on to the next level. Okay, that's it. That's it. And as Tusk always says, it's kind of ridiculous that we now live in a society where the very act of walking up to an attractive girl and starting a conversation with her is now deemed as the sort of the height of bravery. But that's kind of where we are, because most guys, and this includes guys who've been in the military, this includes guys who have done active service and seen all kinds of unimaginable horrors and dangers, still find it incredibly challenging to walk up to a woman that they find attractive and make that clear and then have a conversation. Okay. So, and we don't need to rehash the reasons why that is. We kind of know why that is, don't we? It's because it is biologically programmed into us, evolutionary biology, yada, yada, yada. If you asked out the wrong woman in the tribe before, you get a rock chucked on your head, etc., etc. So we have this innate fear in us about rejection, okay? But the reality, and we all know this as well, the reality of the situation is that walking up to somebody and starting a conversation with them, whether that's in the coffee shop, whether it's in the mall, whether it's in the nightclub, whatever, right, is not going to end in us dying. Or in most circumstances, maybe if you're in a Serbian nightclub or something, maybe. But in general, in most circumstances, this isn't going to end up with us being in some really life-challenging situation. The worst really that's going to happen is she's going to look you up and down and sort of go, yeah, no thanks, mate, and turn her back on you. And you're going to feel a little bit embarrassed and you're going to go back to your friends and that's going to be it, right? So we're not talking about taking life-threatening risks here, but that doesn't really matter because regardless of the genuine proportion of the risk, the reality is that the feeling of fear is still present. And so we're still dealing with this feeling of fear. We've got to find a way to get through that fear. Now, the stock answer that dating coaches will always give, the stock answer that we'll always give when people, come to shows like this, or they write, whatever, they'll come with their problems to a webinar or a boot camp. The standard advice is always, well, you've got to throw yourself into interactions. You've just got to do it more, to desensitize yourself to the fear of doing it. And that is absolutely bang on. That advice, because you can't get round it. You can't. You can't improve social skills on paper. You can't improve social skills sitting behind a desk or sitting in front of your computer. It's like trying to become better at boxing by watching videos about boxing. You can watch all of the videos about boxing that have ever been released, and unless you actually practice it, and unless you actually practice being hit in the face and hitting somebody else in the face and all the rest of it, you're still going to be no good at boxing, or at least you're not going to be proficient at boxing in the way that you would want to be. Okay, it's a practical skill set, and it's exactly the same with socializing. There is no way that anyone has ever discovered to become better at socializing than actually going out and talking to other human beings. It's just, you just can't do it, right? It's like swimming, right? Again, how do you become better at swimming? Well, you have to get in water and you have to practice. You can't read a book about swimming and become a great swimmer. Exactly the same with social skills and with dating. So that advice is correct. The advice, just go out and do it, is absolutely correct. And that ultimately is what anybody has to do if they want to improve themselves in this area. However, is there something else that we can add to that particular formulation? Is there some more nuance that we can bring to bear on this so that the prospect of going up and talking to that woman that we find attractive is made more tolerable? Is there a way of thinking through this thing so that we can reduce that fear and that terrible anxiety that perhaps we feel? And the book by Ant Middleton, The Fear Bubble, I believe, does offer a way of looking at this, which I think is going to be very helpful. So I'm going to go through it in a second. But let's just have a look at the comments. Top of the morning, said Daniel. Good to see you, man. Mihai Vulp says, where can I buy your book from? So, well, I've got a bunch of books, actually. You can get them on Amazon. If you go to amazon.com, type in Troy Francis, you'll see a bunch of my different titles over there. However, if you would like to buy a bundle of 11 of them about all different aspects of dating and game and the dating marketplace for the very, very reasonable sum of just $39, then hit the link below. I will put the link below after we finish the show if it's not there already, but hit the link that will be in the description, or look on one of the previous videos and you'll see the link there. Go through to that link. You can buy a bundle of 11 of my books on PDF. So yeah, I would recommend that you do that. The other thing to say, of course, is that myself and Jack Napier have just released a two-book audiobook bundle, which is called Approach to Date Toolkit. And that features 2 of my books read by Mr. Napier. The books are Approach Her Like Chad and Text Game Mastery. Okay. So if you want the audiobooks of versions of those books, then also I'll stick the link below. Go to that. It's on Gumroad, and you can listen to those lovely audio versions as well. So that's basically the answer. But Amazon, or hit the link below for the bundle. Ian says, good to see you, Ian. 8 approaches Saturday and 2 numbers, which is decent ratio. That's fair enough. Same day date yesterday. That's good. He got a date, walking up to a girl, having a conversation with her. Immediate date. That's a good thing to do. That's cool. 4 approaches and 1 number today. Numbers quite flaky, but progress coming back slowly. Well, that's very good to hear. He's out and about. He's taking action. He's getting some results. Okay. It may not be, again, we were talking last week about success, and somebody was saying, well, what if I do 100 approaches and I don't get any success? And I was saying, well, what do you mean by what is success? What do you mean by success? You could say, well, success is, was I intimate with that woman that I really liked or not? And of course, that's, I suppose, the ultimate arbiter of success. But you can see from something like this, he's getting phone numbers. That is a success. He's getting dates. He got an instant date. That is a success. He's doing something right. Okay. Now, on that basis, what he needs to do is continue. He's moving in the right direction. So he needs to continue, keep up the momentum. And as he gets more comfortable, the results are going to, the reactions are going to get more and more favorable. And those results are going to improve. Okay. So, he's doing all the right things. And, if you do reach a sticking point where it's like, oh, well, I'm getting all of these dates, but I'm not progressing any further than that, then it might be that it's worth getting a mentor or getting somebody to have a look at what you're doing, on either on the dates or on the initial approaches, because perhaps there is something that's going a little bit wrong. And sometimes having an outside perspective on that is really helpful. And that's obviously where I can help out. If you get in contact with me, Troy@realtroyfrancis.com, James Task, or anybody else really, you can get that outside assistance and mentoring, which is really, really important. But yeah, basically, so success in that sense is you're getting these little indicators. You're getting these indicators that you're doing something right. Okay. And this is what I always look for. I'm not looking for the skies to open and, trumpets to sound and angels to come down and be like, yes, that was a good set. I'm just looking for these micro indicators of success, because when you see these little micro indicators, then you know that all you need to do is just keep going, just keep pushing on. And that that's going to increase, and it's just going to get better and better as you go through. Mihai says, I tried to search for it for a while, the one about the 3 dark traits. That's How to Be an Arsehole, which should be on Amazon. If you have a problem getting hold of it, it's certainly in the bundle. It should be on Amazon. If you have a problem getting hold of it, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Yeah, Mystery says, it's not fear holding me back. I've been locked down for 1.5 months. Even a Jesus will start to get depressed sometimes. That is true. Yeah, lockdowns are not great for the mental health. And yes, that is definitely having an impact on us all. Daniel says, the line in June, fear is the mind killer. It sure is. Mystery, I have voice calls with girls, but what's the point if I'm not able to ask a girl out because leads will get cold? Thoughts? That is tricky. But you can keep leads. I don't know where you are, by the way. I'd be interested to know where exactly you are. But if you are locked down, you literally can't go out. I mean, can you do anything? Can you do like a coffee date? Can you walk around the park? Can you go and sit on a bench somewhere? Getting a bit of FaceTime is going to be valuable. But you'd be surprised anyway how long you can keep a lead going for. Even if you guys can't meet up, you can keep it going for much longer than you think. I've had leads, that is to say, I've been in contact with girls for a long, long time who've been in my phone, and it's been like a year or so later that we've actually been able to meet up. And you'd really be surprised. You'd really be surprised how long you can maintain those connections for. You've just got to keep not texting all the time, but just dropping in little flirty messages every now and then, sending funny memes, little pictures, gifs, whatever, right? Just keeping the vibe going. And then when you guys are in a position to meet up, then you can take things on to that next stage. Michael says, I would die for your hair at that age. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for that. I have been fortunate with the old hair. I'm not sure it's worth dying for, but I take your point. Serbian nightclub. Yeah, I had a Serbian ex-girlfriend actually. So yeah, I'm versed in the ways of the Serbian vibe. Why can't it be spontaneous? Leave yourself to figure out versus teaching yourself the skills. Ultimately, it should be spontaneous. Mystery. I've just realized a girl shouldn't have an effect on you because she doesn't even know your name or your details. That doesn't count as rejection. A real rejection is after she slept with you. That is true. She doesn't really know anything about you in that first instance. It's really just based on a very superficial kind of sense that could be very incorrect of who you are. And, frame, right? Frame is important. I was listening to a podcast just yesterday, and the guy was saying, look, I mean, if you walk up to a girl and you're having a conversation with her and you think you're the bee's knees, you think, yeah, I'm hot, I'm an attractive dude, I've got it all going on. And she responds to that with the very clear indication that she thinks that's not true. And actually you're, a bit of a scrub or whatever. She doesn't think you're attractive, whatever. And you buy into that, then that's her frame overtaking yours, and that's not how it should be. Your frame should always be strong. So your belief as you're walking around is, I'm the business, I'm hot, I'm a cool guy, whatever. I'm hot and cool at the same time. I'm an attractive man, I am high value, I am this, I'm that. That should be your raison d'etre. That should be your modus operandi, right? And just because some random person doesn't agree with you, it doesn't mean that you should drop that and go, oh yeah, okay, you're right. Actually, I'm a worthless POS. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Just because the person happens to be an attractive woman, you don't allow their perspective on this, which could be flawed anyway, to supersede yours. That is the foundation of frame, okay? And having a strong frame, so important. All right, let's have a look. This is a good perspective on this. Cold Steel says success is getting a yes or no without getting friend zoned or manipulated. And I think that is a very good way of looking at it, because people would say, well, no, success is getting a yes. And if you don't get a yes, then that's a failure. I would choose not to look at it like that. I would prefer to say more like what Cold Steel is saying here, which is that you want to get a clear answer either way, because it's better to get a no, and it's particularly better to get a no early on than it is to end up in some interminable morass of friend zoneness and just messing around and not knowing where you stand, right? It's far better to get an immediate no so that you can then move on to the next opportunity, right? So I would agree with this. I think this is a very good way of looking at it. You know, and you go in there and you're like, right, I want to go into this interaction. I want to make my feelings known. I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be masculine. I'm going to be authentic to myself, because that's important. Remember, being authentic to oneself, to one's own feelings and emotions. I'm going to express that to another human being. And then we're going to see what comes of that. And I would like the result to be clear. So I would like either a yes or I would like a no. And then I can walk away from that interaction knowing the outcome and being certain of the outcome. And I can congratulate myself for having taken the action. Okay. So yeah, I'd say that's a good way to look at it. JD says Love Island is my favorite documentary. I'm not sure it's not quite a documentary, is it? But I know what you mean. Micro indicators are a great way to track progress. Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to turn back to talking about fear again for a second, because that's the other main topic of today. So what? And again, this is a bit like when I was reading the David Goggins book last week, and I was talking about it before I finished. The caveat here is that I haven't finished The Fear Bubble by Ant Middleton yet, so I may well have further insights on this to bring to you, or further observations and commentary to bring to you on this topic as we go forward. But from where I am at the moment, he describes his concept of the fear bubble, and what he basically says, and this really resonated with me because I realized that I had a similar idea myself. He's developed it better than me, and he's used it in some much more challenging circumstances than I have, but I've thought similarly to this myself, which is that what he said was, okay, when he was going on a tour, so he'd go on a 6-month military tour, and he would feel fear building up in the weeks and months before that tour started. And then he would experience fear all the way through that tour. And it was unpleasant. It was uncomfortable. And so he said to himself, I need to sort this out. I need to find another way through this. Okay. And so he went away and he started to break down the fear. And what he realized was, actually, a lot of the time, there was no need for him to feel fear. For example, when he was sitting at home in his comfortable house with his wife and his child, before even going on the tour, he was experiencing fear. But why feel fear at that point when you're completely protected? There's no way that you're going to come to any harm. You're at home. You're not anywhere near the enemy. Nothing's going to happen. All right. So fear at that point is irrational. But then he broke it down further, because he said, well, okay, so when I go to the military compound and I'm in this military compound, I feel fear then. But it's an anticipatory fear, isn't it? Because actually being in that military compound, when you think about it, is really, really safe, because you're surrounded by incredibly highly trained military personnel. You're in this incredibly protected base. And actually, the chances of your coming to harm there are extremely low. So again, he realized, well, actually, the fear then is irrational. And then he breaks it down even further. He'd say, well, okay, and then even when I'm going, behind enemy lines, and I have to go and take out this assassin or this person, whatever it is, he's going across the courtyard in the building where he's gone to meet the enemy. And he's feeling fear, but then he realizes, well, hang on a minute. I'm alone in this courtyard. The enemy is in there through that door. I don't need to feel fear at this precise moment. And so what he does is breaks it down and says, okay, so that fear is a time and a place. Okay? Fear is a time and a place. It's a point on a graph. It's not this thing that should just subsume everything. It's a specific point. And he said for him, with a military operation, the time and the place for fear was when he opens that door and he goes through and he's standing in front of the enemy. At that point, yes, fear is rational. So what he says is that he would visualize, he would imagine a bubble being around that moment of fear, that moment and geographical location of fear. He would visualize a bubble around it. And he would, before that, he would refuse to feel fear. He would push back fear. He'd say, no, it's irrational. There's no reason for me to be feeling fear at this moment. And then when he's standing in front of that bubble, you know, it's right, I've got to go through that door. And then when I go through that door, I'm going to encounter the enemy, and fear is rational in that circumstance. He'd take a deep breath, say, right, okay, I'm going to enter the fear bubble. And he would steel himself and say, right, I'm going to do what needs to be done. Enter the fear bubble, do what needs to be done, and then you come out the other side. And when you come out the other side, as he describes it, you get this huge adrenaline rush. And you've probably experienced this yourself, haven't you? Because if you've done like a bungee jump, or you've gone down a slide in a water park, or you've done something that scared you, and then you've come out the other side of that, you know that amazing feeling. It's like when you go on a ride at the theme park. You know, you go on a roller coaster, or you go on some amazing ride, and you're scared. And then when you come off, you've got that feeling of like, oh, that was awesome. I just want to do it again. I want to do it again. It was so good. And you get this as well with socializing. You get this with approaching. You know, like you steel yourself because you see this girl, incredibly attractive, standing at the bar with her beautiful red dress on, drinking a cocktail. And you think, yeah, I want to go and talk to her. But, oh, God, it's going to, you know, she's so attractive. She's going to hate me. She's probably got a boyfriend. She's this, she's that. And then you go up and you make the approach, and almost regardless of the results, you know, almost regardless of the result, whether the result is good or the result is bad, then you come out of that and you feel that sense of elation. You're like, actually, it wasn't that bad. Actually, it was quite fun. You know, I feel good. I feel good. And you're like, yeah, I want to do it again. And in the book, Anne Middleton describes the way that people can become almost addicted to that to the adrenaline. Okay, you get addicted to the adrenaline, which comes as you pass through the fear bubble of these individual things, right? And this is why you get guys who become addicted to doing things like day game, or doing, you know, going out to clubs and to bars and, you know, to go and meet women, because it's not that the process has become easier. It's not even necessarily that they are getting rejected less. They may still be getting rejected a ton, but it becomes addictive, all right? Because you're going through that process. You're going through the fear bubble and coming out the other side. You're like, whoa, that was amazing. That was fantastic. That was so ballsy. I just went and talked to a table, and there were 10 people sitting on that table. And I just walked straight up to them, as bold as brass. And I started a conversation, and I was chatting to the most attractive girl on that table, and it was brilliant. You know, I just want to go and do it again. Just want to go and do it again. And it's that feeling of adrenaline, that feeling of exhilaration that you get, that drives you forward. So this idea of the fear bubble, this idea of realizing, so, you know, you might think, okay, so I'm going to go out tonight. I'm going to go to the bar and I'm going to socialize. I'm going to talk to different people. I'm going to talk to some women that I find attractive, and I'm going to see where it goes. And if you're anything like I was some years ago, then that may make you feel nervous. You're like, oh, God, really? I'm going to have to go and talk to these. And particularly if I was going to a high-end place, you know, if I was going to a high-end club or bar where I know that there was going to be a lot of, you know, high-value and very attractive people there, I would feel nervous about it. I would think, oh, but, you know, I'd feel that anticipation, that sense of fear. But, of course, that's irrational. When you're sitting at home before you go out, you're getting dressed or whatever, it's irrational to feel fear, okay? And then when you're in the Uber on the way to the venue, it's also irrational to feel fear, because what what's going to happen, right? The only moment in the whole process when, okay, you could say, all right, well, maybe it's rational for me to feel something like fear, is that moment when you are actually going to walk up to the attractive woman and begin the conversation. Okay, so at that point, I mean, and again, fear, it's overstating the case, right? Because it's not really rational to feel fear just talking to another human being. But let's say some sense of anticipation is natural at that moment. So you can say to yourself, okay, right now, there's the attractive girl at the bar. In that situation, a little bit of sense of discomfort is natural. Okay, I'm going to still myself, going to go into the fear bubble. You imagine the bubble around her. You step into the fear bubble. You introduce yourself. You have that conversation. It goes either well or it doesn't go so well or whatever, regardless. And then you step out of the fear bubble, okay? And at that point, and then you're out again. And then the pressure's off. And at that point, I promise you, regardless of whether she falls in love with you immediately or whether she tells you to sod off, you will feel that sense of exhilaration. You'll feel that sense of accomplishment. And that will be a fantastic thing, okay? So breaking down fear is the key lesson really of today. And I think the key lesson so far that I've taken from this book, because that no doubt there are many more lessons to come, but breaking down fear and recognizing that fear shouldn't be this cloud that just covers everything. You know, it's you break it down into manageable chunks, right? Because when you think about it, there's really only certain key moments where fear is actually appropriate. And most of the time, fear isn't appropriate because you're not in that moment yet. It's only in that moment when the fear is appropriate. So break it down. You know, think about your process. If you do daytime approach, think about it. Say, okay, well, when I'm walking to the shops, I don't need to feel fear then. When I walk into the coffee shop, it's irrational to feel fear because what's going to happen? The only moment when fear might be acceptable is just as I'm about to go into that interaction with somebody that I find particularly attractive, okay? And then you just steel yourself and say, okay, right, I'm now going to feel the fear. I'm going to step into the fear bubble, and you proceed, okay? So break down fear and recognize that it's not something that you need to experience all the time. It shouldn't be something that you experience all the time, and start to use it as fuel. Start to recognize that the adrenaline that you're going to experience when you step through the fear bubble is such that that will actually you can kind of get hooked on that. It's really, really fun, okay? And as Ant Middleton makes clear in the book, this goes across many different areas of life, right? This could be about relationships, travel. He says that any door that's difficult to open, on the other side of that door are huge opportunities, are huge possibilities, okay? And that's what we need to look for, right? We need to think, okay, so there's all of these closed doors, and a great life comes about when you have the courage to open as many of those doors as possible, whatever that means for you in your individual circumstances, okay? So yeah, think about it like that, you know, and recognize that fear is really only certain key points. It's a point in time and it's a point in space. It's a geographical point and a point in time, okay? It's not this miasma that clouds your entire life. Anyway, JD says, dated a Bulgarian once. That was an experience. Good experience? I mean, Bulgarians are, you know, attractive, can be attractive. The female Bulgarians are attractive people. And, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of jacked, well, there are plenty of jacked Bulgarian guys. Mystery says there's various points here. Some of these red pill guys have ego that turn into fear. They don't want to lose, hence not approaching women or laziness. Well, that is a problem, because if you've made your identity, I don't know if you mean like a guy who is a red pill coach or something like that. I mean, if you've made your identity about the fact that you know you've got this sort of esoteric knowledge, and you know, then there can be this issue of like, well, I don't want to ruin my batting average because I've got a good track record. I don't want to ruin that. And, you know, there has to be humility right? There has to be humility. We all have to realize, we're all a beginner. Every day, every time we get out of bed, we're all a beginner. We all wake up and we start from the same position, right? With something like socializing. And you've just got to get up and you've got to go out there and you give it your best shot and drop the ego. I think that's really important. Daniel says, I've started approaching women and I was shocked. There was nothing to fear. They were, if not more nervous than I was. Well, do you know what? I was talking to a girl at the weekend and we were talking about this and she, she was talking about, what I did. And I said, well, I kind of help guys with confidence and talk to guys about interacting with women. And she said, and she's not British, but she said, well, why do guys need help with that, particularly in the UK? Because she said, it's a pretty open liberal society. Why do guys need help with that? And I said, well, you'd be surprised. A lot of guys, they just need, they find it actually quite intimidating. And she found it difficult to understand. You see, from a woman's perspective, they don't really get it in the same way that we do. They sort of think, well, yeah, but it's easy. Look at all these women around here. They're all easy. They're all up for it. They don't really understand what it's like from the male perspective, and as Daniel says, often you will find that women are actually quite nervous themselves, because we have this myth that women are these amazingly gifted social creatures and they can just, it's just all good as far as they're concerned. And I mean, yeah, they've been put into a lot of social situations, so they have that experience, but it's not necessarily the case that they're just, it's all good for them. I mean, they get approach anxiety. I mean, women never approach guys, do they? Or very rarely. Well, they have their own approach anxiety, and sometimes they can feel unsure what to say or shy when they are approached by somebody. So, it's not like the grass is greener here, really. But yeah, we do build this up in our heads to be something more than it really needs to be. Love from India, elbow cough, elbow cough, elbow cough, elbow cough. Good. Why Asian girls are not your type? Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they're not. I mean, it depends what category. I mean, my ex-girlfriend is Asian, so obviously Asian covers quite a lot of bases, right? But it's not that they're not or they are. I just, I go for individuals. Really, I'm not so bothered about the right, individual like races or anything like that. Okay, so anyway, that's it. That's what I wanted to say on the fear side of things. Really enjoying this book by Anne Middleton. I would recommend it if you get the chance. It's on Audible. It's called The Fear Bubble, and I've really enjoyed it so far. This is off the back of having read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, which is also really, really good, and I would highly recommend that. So the other thing is Love Island. So Love Island in the United Kingdom starts tonight at 9 p.m. It's currently, it's just gone 5. So in about 4 hours' time, we will see episode 1 of Love Island, which is when all the Islanders, group of girls, it's probably about 6 girls, 6 guys at the beginning, something like that. They all get put into this villa. They all meet up. They have to pair off, get into couples, and you start to see the relationship dynamics playing out pretty early on, okay? Because obviously, everybody who kind of goes in there is good looking. You've kind of got to be good looking and buff to an extent, but clearly there are degrees of that, right? So we start to see, okay, so who are the real chads coming into the villa? What kind of response are they getting from the women? Who out of the guys, who's got game? Who's got a bit of chat, who's got something about them, who's a bit of a simp, right? And how is this being responded to by the women, and how are the women acting? Is she with this guy because she actually likes him? Is she using him because she wants to stay in the show? All of these things, we can observe all of this stuff because, as I say, they're in a villa in Mallorca. They've got cameras all around the place. So it's being filmed 24/7. And yes, okay, there's editing obviously that goes on and blah, blah, blah. But nevertheless, even then, with what's shown, we can really, really get some interesting lessons about the dating marketplace, about the sexual marketplace, about the way things really go down between the genders. So I'm going to watch the intro episode tonight, the premiere episode tonight, whatever you call it. Probably do some live tweeting during that. Might do a bit of an Instagram live, or maybe come on here or something like that. Have a bit of a chat about it, and then we're going to see how it goes through the series, because I'm meant to be, well, I should be away in July anyway, so it's not going to be quite as easy. Well, I guess I can watch it when I'm away, but I may not be watching it 24/7 when we're in Russia and so on and so forth. But I would quite like to do some content about it throughout the series, because I do think these shows are interesting. I think they're instructive, and it's a lot of fun as well. So I hope that you will appreciate that. I hope you'll look forward to it. As I say, this is something Donovan Sharp does a lot. Donovan Sharp, and we were talking about doing a show together about this. So I think he does The Bachelorette a lot and things like this. Love Island is a British show. So, you know, and I can't show clips on YouTube from it because they'll take it down. So, but I can describe what's going on, and we can talk about different things that come up. So, and I can show some pictures and things like that. So hopefully that will be of interest. Baker says, any advice for me when I get rejected? 2 tough points: 1, making the initial approach, and 2, getting back from day game rejection. Well, you know, ultimately it's just getting back on the horse. I mean, ultimately go back to your why. You know, how badly do you want it, right? You know, you want to you want to meet that wonderful girl. You want to meet that beautiful girl where it's all electric and amazing, okay? And you will, but you have to keep pushing on, okay? So just think, okay, regroup. What do I actually want from this? I don't care what that random particular person who blew me out thinks about me. That's irrelevant. What do I want from this? Well, I want to meet this wonderful, amazing girl and have a great time with her. So I'm going to push on and I'm going to carry on, right? And having that almost selfishness about it, really. And also just reminding yourself that statistically, this is just what happens. I mean, rejection is just part and parcel of the game. And, you know, the guys who are getting rejected the most are also having the most fun personal lives as well. Devon says, ask Troy Francis if pimping is easy. He will emphatically assure you, yes, it is. Absolutely. Commando, yes, Troy, you're doing a breakdown of Love Island daily. I'll try to. Let's see how it goes. I mean, certainly for the next week or so, I'm going to be in London and I can watch it. And I'd like to because I think it'd be a fun thing to do. So watch this space. It'd be interesting. Anybody in the comments, if you would like updates on YouTube about Love Island UK, then let me know and we can do streams about it on here. But I'm also thinking, you know, I'll probably tweet about it as well tonight. So you can follow me at Renegade Playboy is my Twitter handle. I'll do some live tweeting during the show tonight. Might do some stuff on Instagram. It's the kind of thing you could do like an Instagram live about or something like that. So yeah, just, you know, I don't know. Let me know what you think below. But yeah, I think there'll be some good content from that for sure. Shout from Texas. Howdy. Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Wish I was in Texas at the moment. Probably be more fun than here. And Michael says, what are your opinions on drinking coffee before a pickup session? Absolutely. I mean, like, I'm a big coffee fan. As it happens, I've cut down my caffeine intake a bit recently. I'm drinking a couple of cups in the morning and then that's it. And I'm going on to the decaf because it's really, really helped with my sleep. I feel better for it. But that's just a personal thing. I mean, in the past, I was, definitely, a couple of shots of coffee, because you want to get G'd up. You want to get in that social mood. So highly recommend. Do that. Unless you're getting a bit jittery. Don't drink too much coffee. Sometimes guys drink too much coffee. It's like they're wired, and that sends them off the other way. Baker says, supporting my guy Troy. Thanks, man. Good to see you here as always. Cool. Okay. Well, look, let's leave it there for now. Michael says, how fast do you read? Well, I'm listening to these things on audiobook. So what I tend to do, for anyone who's interested in my wonderful reading habits, is I will spend about an hour in the morning reading a physical book or reading something on my Kindle that is actually actually reading it. And I tend to read things like the classics, more and fiction, right? Because I like to do that, and that's just part of my own personal, what I want to do and my own personal development for my writing. But with all of the self-help stuff and the stuff that's a bit more relevant to this, what I've started to do is to listen to a lot of that stuff on audiobook, because it's non-fiction books, like, for me, are better as if you're going to listen to audiobooks. For me, it's better to listen to non-fiction books, because with a novel, you can get kind of lost after a while if you're not really bang on with it. Whereas with a non-fiction book, you're listening to it, they're going to tell you where you are. They're going to say, right, this chapter is about this. Like, right, okay. So it's you don't get lost as easily. And those types of books, just for me, I don't know, they just tend to be just better suited to the audio experience. So I do audiobooks, and I listen to a lot of the self-development stuff, the self-help stuff, the more factual stuff, the stuff that's relevant for work and helping other guys, the stuff that's relevant for helping, me to have a better life, right? So audiobooks I would highly recommend, and you can do a blend of audiobooks plus physical books plus Kindle, which is what I do. Commando says, thanks, would enjoy your opinion on what's going on. So much learning to be done. I think he's talking about Love Island there again. So yeah, 100%, man. I look forward to it. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As I said, if you want to read my books, you can grab Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is my collection of 11 titles about dating, dating marketplace. I'll put the link below. You can also get Approach to Date Toolkit, which is the audiobook, 2-book audiobook collection that I've just put out with Jack Napier, teaching you how to approach, how to text them afterwards. Fundamental stuff, but really useful. And that's it. Hit subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.